Hello and welcome to a Gooners in the USA podcast where, Mike, we've got nothing exciting to talk about, so I'm going to do this in a golf commentator's voice for the rest of the season. How are you?
Golf clap. Yes, it is a good Monday for you. Not necessarily the best of results the last couple of days, but we have an exciting guest with us today, and we're doing video again. We did video with this chap the first time we did it, except it was only our own video. We weren't releasing this to anybody, which is fortunate because Danny tells stories about what he saw on the other end of the camera that day. But today we welcome back our podcast daddy. He's also our podcast mommy, which confirms the fact that he's actually a podcast hermaphrodite, which our Twitter followers can attest to after seeing pictures of him in the bath, which I swear are not Photoshopped. Welcome back to the pod, one of the creators and host and button pushers for the wonderful Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. He's a sweet man. It's Danny the GFP. Welcome back.
Hello, thank you very much for having me, gentlemen. It's so good to hear from you because we're not in a WhatsApp group with just the three of us where you're constantly picking on me. It's not right. It's like,
No, it's not like
1776 all over again, isn't it?
Well, considering about 5 minutes ago you suggested that the U.S. moved its capital to Washington during World War II.
They did. You don't know about it. It was a secret. It used to be in Boston.
Yes, right up until 1945 when they moved it to Washington.
Yeah, just to be on the safe side once the war was over.
Danny the historian. It's been too long since your last visit. It was October. As I recall, it was right after the Cojones Gate against Watford. And at that point, I think you predicted that Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Ozil would play out their contracts and leave on freeze over the summer, and that Arsene Wenger would renew for another 2 to 5 years. So you know, the man knows his Arsenal. That's for sure.
This is why my only job is to press record and edit, and that's it.
Seriously, how have things been the last 8 months? What have you been up to?
Oh, very good. I'm a year older. It was my birthday in October. Christmas, I've been cold ever since then. Apart from last week, we had 4 days of sunshine, and that's lulled me into a false sense of security, and now it is freezing cold. It is now, I've had the heaters on for 3 hours, and it's 21 degrees in here, and outside it's about 8 degrees.
You should consider getting some of this up here.
I've tried backcombing it, but the cat's backcombing it. Yeah, it doesn't do me any favors. I look like one of the politicians from the 1600s where they had the big bushy lamb chops, we call them, backcomb the lamb chops. But no, it does me no favors. Back during the war with the Yanks, who were figuring out where to put their capital of their country. Yeah, that's the one.
So your podcast, Bergkamp Wonderland. We've talked about it probably every week on this podcast because we're huge fans. It's an award-winning podcast. Did you know that, Danny?
It certainly was. That was in the year 2000 and something.
14, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And you lot took home the Football Blogging Awards, Fan Choice for Football Podcast of the Year, which, you know, for those of you who are not familiar with the Football Blogging Awards, they are the most reputable and prestigious organization in the entire world. I just want to get that out there.
Yeah.
Not just for Arsenal podcasts, but for all football podcasts. So, you know, and we have no motive or ulterior motive for saying that whatsoever. But
pointing out how good they are.
Yeah. Just it's just a natural fact. How did winning that award in 2014 just launch your podcasting life? I mean, what did it do for you?
Well, it meant I had to put a little badge on the website. Other than that, nothing.
You had to put a little badge on it.
Yeah. That's it. That's all we did.
We're hoping for
if we win this, we fucked because I don't know how to do that.
I don't have it on anymore.
No, it's still on there. You have a little. You've got some stuff.
We'll just redirect them to Danny's page.
Can we just rename the podcast to Bergkamp Wonderland if we win this thing?
A Bergkamp Wonderland in the Gooners in the USA.
In the USA. Bergkamp
branch.
USA.
We've got a Welsh branch and we've got an American branch now. It's lovely.
There you go. It's like a conglomerate. But
wait, where's your American branch located?
Matthew Debuchy, he's running it. I've not heard from him. I think it's in France.
Huh.
Anyway, the reason we bring this up, since you brought it up, Danny, let's
tell
talk
me
about this.
Tell me about some news about the FBAs. Have you got any?
There's a little bit. Andy, we've been potting now for almost 2 seasons, about 89 episodes or so. Not that I'm counting, but we're still kind of the new kids on the block. So when the new nominations opened for this year's award, just happened to pass by that. Was waiting for it for a year and a half or so. And I thought I'd give it a try, but I have to say, since I put it out there on social media, I am overwhelmed with the number of people who actually stepped up to nominate us. I mean, we put ridiculous amounts of pressure on people, held a gun to their head, tweeted 45 times an hour. But seriously, we've had some good friends who are willing to help us out. Not the least of which is you, Danny, and your crew. So we're on the short list, kind of like Nacho Monreal and Mo El Neni for the Ballon d'Or. We're in the final 10 for the Ballon de podcast this year. So, one of 2 Arsenal podcasts. We're going against West Ham, Aston Villa, Birmingham City. I mean, we can't let these guys win, even though I'm sure they have pretty good podcasts. So, so please bear in mind or keep, bear with us while we are tweeting about this. We'd love to have your votes. This is backwards, isn't it? Or is it forwards? It looks backwards on my computer. So tell me, is it backwards?
Forward? No.
Okay, well, then it's just backwards on mine. These are the links to vote on. With Twitter, you can vote ctt.ec/ whatever that says, E333H, and it'll send out a tweet for you, or go to www.footballbloggingawards.co.uk. Love your vote. It'd be kind of ridiculous if we end up winning this, but anyway, we're going to give it a try. How would you feel if we won, Andy?
Elated.
What would you do?
Sad. I think I'd go through all the stages, like
acceptance, anger.
Yeah, anger, acceptance, raging boner,
bargaining, raging boner, bargaining,
bargaining. And then I probably would just stop talking to 98% of the people that I already talked to because I'm just too big for them.
Yeah, I mean, we would only be able to really share our experiences with Danny.
Here's the direct quote from my mom when I said, "Hey, can you log in and vote for me?" She went, "Who the fuck wants to listen to you and your friend?"
And your friend. And your little friend, too. Your little dog, too. All right. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to it, especially after that, after that rousing incentive from your mom,
God,
which your mom's always incenting. Anyway,
you are in the final, aren't you?
We are.
Yeah. So
yeah, I actually don't know if like they announce it on the day or if they announce it ahead of time.
On the day.
I don't know. Speaking of bargaining, I'm currently bargaining with my family as to whether I might actually make another trip over, because if we happen to get by Madrid, the final happens to be the day before the event. So I might have to stick the nail in the coffin as far as my family is concerned.
It'd be rude not to.
It would be. I mean, I don't want to let people down. I don't want to let the people down.
Your people down.
Let my people go.
We're doing this for America, Mike. Let's make America great again.
Oh God. Well, we just lost the award. So anyway, we did have two big matches this week, and it's an interesting kind of time to be an Arsenal supporter, right in the middle of one big tie, right after another. So let's step into the Thursday semifinal against Atletico Madrid. By the way, Andy, what kind of league does Atletico Madrid play for?
It's a feeder league, Mike. It's a league with 2.5 teams, Atletico being that half team.
Which half are they, the left side or the right side?
The left side.
Definitely. So, as expected, we get a first-choice 11. I mean, we could argue that some of these players shouldn't be in the first-choice 11, Bellerin, kind of Jack on recent form, Mustafi, but we know at least with Arsene Wenger they haven't lost their place. Andy, try not to fall asleep. Remember, we can see you. Remember, we can see you now.
I'm so tired.
That's the advantage of me only waking up about 45 minutes ago.
So any starting 11 is better when a certain somebody isn't in it. And Andy, who would that be?
I think you're alluding to Mr. Iwobi. Am I correct?
A little, yeah, I'm a little harsh, but.
Yeah, no, for a game of this magnitude, from recent form, Iwobi should never get a look in. And with the players that you mentioned, they may not be playing very well this season, or their form may have dropped, but they've played on the big stage, and they can turn quickly something little into magic. And so you have to go with your best lineup. And you look at Jack, who's just been injury ridden. He has those moments of brilliance, so you have to play him in a game of this magnitude. You do. Same with Bellerin, especially with Griezmann out there. I know Maitland-Niles has done well with his speed, but Bellerin again can do something magical, and we saw him play well. So when you have the big stage, you got to put your best players on it and hope that they do well.
Yeah,
unless they kick the ball in their face and essentially assist a goal.
Speaking of which, I seem to remember remarking in last week's podcast that when Koscielny was in the lineup and played a full 90 minutes against West Ham, I asked if it, I was starting to wonder if that kind of meant Chambers or Holding was going to come in on Thursday, because every time we seem to play him with his current physical limitations and apparent mental limitations as well. Every time we play him twice in a week, the second game, you kind of get the bad Koscielny, you get the mistake-prone Koscielny, and so put that in your pipe and smoke it. I mean, I called that one, and I really don't think he should have played against West Ham. But Danny, other than the glaring omission of Vlad Dragomir, what did you think of the starting lineup
for the Atletico game?
Yeah.
Well, as it's a feeder league, I was watching Tom last night doing his show with Drew and Kenny, and I was hoping people were going to ask him questions about the feeder league, but nobody did. Good show though.
Andy must not have been available for being in the chat room.
Well, I was in there. I asked him, what should I have, spaghetti hoops or baked beans? I was completely ignored. And then I ended it with a should we shoot more, and they ignored that as well. I thought, that was WhatsApping Drew at the time. Oh, I felt besmirched. That lineup.
Don't they know who you are?
No, I don't even know who I am. Sometimes it takes hours in the morning just to get to look like this. I wouldn't have played Ospina. Poor little Ospina, old no neck. I think there's De Gea has got his given share of neck. It's just like a head on some shoulders, as we saw in the game that you'll probably talk about later. But he did make one hell of a save, which was a magnificent save, a beautiful save, and for that just shows the kind of ability that Ospina does have. But I think if you're playing against Arsenal, you don't want Petr Cech to be in goal. And I think that's partly psychological. Like, remember David Seaman years ago, so he was asked, why do the kit manufacturers get you to wear such wanky kits? And he says, because it makes me look bigger and it puts people off. And I remember there was one that he had, it was black with a big yellow, I think it was a star or a triangle or a square or something ridiculous in the middle of the shirt. Huge, big thing. And it looked like an absolute tit, but he said it did the job. And that's why Bruce Grobbler back in the day used to do crazy legs on the line. And Jens Lehmann was an absolute mental case. You knew that he might just... You could be attacking for your own corner, and then he could be behind their defender. And you go, well, should you be down the other end in the goal? And he would just look at them and growl. You need a mental goalkeeper. And as weird as Ospina is at being 5'2" and an international goalkeeper, he's not the better goalkeeper. He doesn't put the fear of life into anybody. He hasn't got the experience or even the ability that Petr Cech has. I do like Ospina, and I'm happy to have him as a backup keeper, but not when you're playing in the Europa League semi-final. Apart from that, I think Welbeck has played his way into the team, which is good for him. The midfield, well, we've only got 3 midfielders, central midfielders, and all 3 of them are playing, so you can do bugger all about that. You have to start with Koscielny and Mustafi because they are our 2 best centre-backs. But like you were saying, Koscielny cannot play 2 games in a week, and that's not our personal opinion. That is a medical fact from Dom, and Dom knows everything. Dom is never wrong. And
he's the king of soft tissue.
Yeah, if of all kind of soft tissue, whether they come in pairs or whether they're ankles, he is the king of them. He just can't do it. And so the game before, was it West Ham we played before wasn't it?
West Ham on Sunday.
Why is he playing? What did he achieve? It's not like West Ham were a goal-scoring threat.
It was his first league game since the Brighton game that he had played any minutes. I think he was all Europa League since then.
That's what he should be playing, and maybe I don't know. It could be something like he needed a little bit of match fitness. But if he did, then bring him on as a sub, or just don't play, or play him in a back 3. But what you can't do is have him on the, like Steve from our pod. He said, "Oh great, Koscielny standing on the halfway line and Griezmann's running at him. He might as well have just gone, nah, I'm going to have a sit down, I'll have a lay down, save you energy, because you are not catching him or stopping him. And it's just he managed to zigzag around the pitch. And Mustafi must have because Mustafi was on the far right, and then it was Koscielny, then it was Monreal. At some point, Monreal decided to face the wrong direction for some reason, the only bloke there of any pace. And Mustafi went, oh my God, I've got to run the entire length of the pitch and catch him up at a diagonal. He's one of the quickest players in La Liga, Feeder League, and I've got to do all of that lot in one go. No. Yeah,
I know you mean he just dove and fell on the ground and rolled around, but we'll talk about that goal in a minute. For the first thing to come out of that game that just, certainly had people's mouths wide open is 9 minutes into the game. I'm going to get this wrong, but Sima Versaljko gets his second yellow card of the game. And I'm sorry, you knobs that whine about the referee needing to recognize the timing and the stage and have a feel for the pulse of the game. Just suck it, because those were two of the clearest yellow cards I have ever seen every minute of the game, every day of the week. And, maybe I'm a little biased, but Andy, I'm right?
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you foul a player 2 minutes into the game or 55 minutes into the game. A foul's a foul, and you don't not call it because you're in the beginning of a match. And for me, they were clearly both yellows, and he deserved to be red carded. And I thought the ref did a good job. I know a lot of refs probably wouldn't have handed out that second one because it was so early on in the match. But foul's a foul, Mike. And I don't think there was any overreaction on your part. It was 100% a red card. There you go, Danny. 100%ed you.
100%.
It's football. You've got 110%. It's football.
Sorry. 110% it was a red card.
Thank you.
So, Danny, we had to deal with a bunch of with the American commentary team for Europa League is just, Alexi Lalas, who literally just makes shit up as he goes along.
Oh, he had a trial at Arsenal, and he tweeted me once when I asked him about it.
No.
And Arsenal?
I have a Alexi Lalas story I'll save for another time, but it's just ridiculous. He's the color commentator for the game and just railing on the referee for calling the second yellow. Then at halftime, there's Ian Joy in the studio who said all the right things, and the guy who I'm not even going to bother learning his name next to him was just like Alexi Lalas, basically saying, the second one was soft. You never call that a yellow when the person already has a yellow that early in the game. And to Ian Joy's credit, he was just like, so you're just allowed to beat the guy up and stamp on him. And to me, the second one was a stronger yellow than the first one. Honestly, if it was a little further up on the leg, it could have been a straight red as far as I'm concerned, but there's just no way you can't call that a yellow. But Danny, with the proper announcers, what was their take on that? Were they talking about the whole the pulse of the game and the changing the game after 9 minutes, or did they treat it the right way?
Well, we had Robbie Savage, who's an absolute tool, and to quote him at halftime, 0-0 is Arsenal's worst possible result for this game. 0-0. Was it 0-0 at halftime, or was it 1-1?
It was 0-0 at halftime.
Yeah, worst possible result. I don't think he's ever heard of people conceding more goals than they score, or it being 0-0. I think 0-0 was quite a decent result at halftime. That's the kind of moron that we have. Robbie, absolute tool, Savage. He may have nice hair and he may be a Welsh legend, but he's an idiot, and he was just an idiot all the way through the game. It's
By the way, on next week's pod, I'd like to welcome our guest, Robbie Savage.
I like him as a person, but he is an awful commentator. He sounds like Alexi Lalas. They should just do WWF, and it is WWF. Fuck the Pandas.
Unfortunately for us, Mike, is I think that this is the crew for the World Cup as well.
Oh,
it's going to be god awful.
It is, but I'm going to watch the World Cup on Univision or whatever because
dear, someone's going to knock at my door. I'm going to ignore them.
Especially with the U.S. not playing, I'll listen to it in Spanish.
I'll be supporting Germany. Who are you supporting, Andy? Because you've got a pick of so many because you've been an Englishman abroad.
Well, of course he's picking England.
Yeah, England. I actually just bought a flagpole holder, Mike, just so I could hang a flag outside of my house for the World Cup. So I'll be taking it down after the first week.
Yeah, For the 7 days it's up there, let me know if you get your house egged or otherwise vandalized.
Is it the St. George you're having, or is it the
I actually have a St. George with the England crest in the middle of it, so I'm gonna put
look
that
at
one
you.
up.
You've gone full skinhead. Excellent.
Yeah.
But as you were saying about the commentators, Robbie Savage is an idiot. And remember the thing that he was doing when we played CSK Moscow? How many times did he say people that heard him? Oh, they're back four, have a combined age of 108 years old. He must have said that every 5 minutes for the entire game. He's an idiot. You're not doing much better over there, unless it is going to be a proper commentator with someone like Gary Neville. Gary Neville, we hate him as a player, but as a commentator, you ain't going to get any better.
I like him.
Oh no, the NBC coverage has it right. They're not messing around by trying to force Americans down our throat on commentary. And when they do have Americans in the studio and the commentary, I tend to actually think that they're very well spoken and well into the game. But
one
Fox
American guy on Fox who's pretty decent, but I think he's an ex-player. Is it Taylor Twellman?
Twellman
He was a player.
Yeah, Twellman's not bad.
I think he's decent. He's not terrible, but he's decent, you know.
Did you know that when Sky Sports first started, it was on analog rather than digital, and you could pick the audio and you could just have the crowd sounds?
Yes,
they should do that again.
I used to do that on CFAX.
Look at you, your numbers and your controllers. The kiddies don't know what that is.
Remember back in the day when they just had the fans commentating?
They had to stop it, didn't they? Because they used to go.
Well, no, they had that fan zone where there would be one fan from each team.
Yeah,
that was on Fox actually over here anyway. There was the Fox fan zone or something, and it would just basically be 45 minutes of them just talking about each other's mothers and screaming into the microphone. They shared the same microphone, so it would be like, "Oh my God, they just scored!"
And now it would be, "Is your mum she gay?" That's all it would be. Now your mum she gay.
I do miss that show though. It was pretty funny. My kids loved it. But so 10 minutes in, we're a man up, and I'm not sure that we're used to having that kind of prosperity so early in a match. And then it gets better. 2 minutes later, Arsenal, I believe we committed a foul that Simeone wanted some justice for the previous one, and gets sent off himself. Andy, I read up later. Do you know the reason why he was sent off?
I don't. I just assumed it was because he was bitching at the fourth.
And he's ugly.
No, it's actually because he had apparently had a dead raccoon on his head, and no one with a dead raccoon on their head has ever made it through 90 minutes of a European tie without getting ejected from the side.
Chelsea.
Do you think after he got ejected and he was standing in the box with Ivan sitting in front, did you think Ivan turned around and just said, "Hey, what are you doing next season? You
what are you doing? Like 4 weeks?
What are you doing from May until May next year? Just curious. And do you like £7 million a year? What are your thoughts?"
I don't know.
I'm an Atletico fan, and I don't want him at our club.
He was intense AF up from that box. I'll tell you that. I mean, after they scored, I'm skipping ahead, but after they scored the equalizer, he went straight for some dude's neck and started like nibbling on it, like super intensely. It was a little disturbing, but that might be a little too much intensity, even like the anti-Arsene Wenger in ways that are even like disturbing, not even like needed and welcome. But he's a little crazy.
Oh.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know what that thing was on his head though. I don't remember him having that months ago when I last saw him. So other than those things, really, it took us a while to kind of get used to and never really did kind of take advantage of having the man advantage. Nothing earth-shattering happens. We had the Lions' share of the possession, but before we get the goal in the second half, 6 minutes into the second half is my favorite point in the whole game. Lucas Hernandez is trying to chase down a ball that he has absolutely no chance of reaching before it goes out of bounds. His hand is out, and Granit Xhaka like barely touches his fingertip with his hand, and Hernandez just throws himself down on the ground like he'd been shot from behind. Then he pops up, and within a second, their heads are bumped together, and they're facing off like the beginning of a WrestleMania match. So, I mean, Danny and Andy, be honest, you thought that they were going to kiss, right? I mean, are you like me, that you thought that was inevitable?
Well, you know what it was, didn't you? if the people at home listening to this, just go and put your socks on and then get a balloon and then rub your feet along the carpet and then go and touch someone. It was static electricity. The Atletico player didn't die if he was electrocuted by Xhaka.
Electrocuted. You could see the wave of energy going through his body to drop him.
That's what it was. It had to be.
But I mean, it was just ridiculous. But imagine putting a bet on a William Hill or Coral Bets or something before the game, 5,000 to 1 odds that opposing players end up making out during the game. And that you imagine, and then you see that and you realize how close you actually came to guaranteed money. So,
yeah.
So for me, I mean, I love football. So obviously I look for moments like that, which are just the true game. But in the 61st minute, we finally break through. Jack, with a little give and go to get out of some tight space, tracks down the suddenly Alexandre Lacazette becomes Inspector Gadget and go gadgets himself 14 feet tall and lunges over.
He needs to teach Ospina how to do that.
What'd you say?
He needs to teach Ospina how to do that.
Yeah, well, Ospina. But yeah, Lucas Hernandez gets jumped over because he couldn't jump up in the air because he still had remnants of the Granit Xhaka boner from 5 minutes earlier.
Embarrassed himself. He could have hit someone with it, and it would have been a penalty.
Exactly, but he was too busy hunching over. But and he nods the ball home for a 1-0 lead. And I'll give you, Andy, the description on this because really most of the goal came down to the hard work of your boy.
Yeah, and that's where we talked a little bit earlier, right? You have these moments of brilliance, and Jack is certainly a player that can offer that, and that's why you put him in the team over an Iwobi type player. But out of all the goals, that's why you put him in the team over an Iwobi type player. But out of all the goals Lacazette could have scored, that was probably the hardest one for him to put in the back of the net because the guy was so unlucky. He should have had a hat trick on the night. But
I thought he only scores penalties. Lacazette.
What if Chris is listening to this? You'll get a turd in the post.
That's true.
No, he's quite
we haven't had Chris on for a while. We should have him back on.
He doesn't even do hours. He's too busy mincing around looking for buried treasure.
He's walking planks and shit.
That's it.
All right. So, I mean, it's a beautiful goal. And for the next 20 minutes, I mean, we really should have and could have broken the tie open. We had 76% possession for the game, which you might expect being Arsenal and being up a man for the whole game. 11 corners to none for Madrid, 28 shot attempts to 6 to Madrid. And with 10 minutes left, it's 1-0. So at that point, it's 1-0. I mean, it's more important in my eyes to keep a clean sheet than to try to press on to get a second, right? I mean, it should be more important to do that at that point in the game, Andy?
Of course.
Okay, I mean, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not crazy here because apparently Arsenal didn't realize this. Let's talk about the play. Welbeck is dispossessed about 30 yards from the goal. He's the furthest man forward at the time. And I don't know who it was for Atletico that looked up, but launches the ball 50 yards over the back of our defense. All 11 of our players are in this basically tight range of 30 yards from goal to 60 yards from goal. And it goes over the top to Griezmann. There's 3 defenders on our side of the pitch, and only just because Monreal was barely there. And it leaves Griezmann one-on-one with a man who always struggles when he plays 2 games in a row. And then the Arsenal situation begins. I mean, Koscielny, if anyone's made a highlight reel of his massive screw-up, start League Cup final and going through Thursday, I mean, this would be the soundtrack music. So he keeps coming up with new and more ridiculous ways to butcher important situations. So he tries to clear it off his own face into Griezmann's path. It looked like he was taking lessons from Mustafi from a few weeks ago with these overhead clearances. And it just, instead of going over his head, it just falls right into Griezmann's path. And good save from Ospina on Griezmann's first shot, it has to be said. And it gave Mustafi a chance to get back in the play, only to fall right on his goddamn ass and lose any shot that he had of cutting off Griezmann's angle. And so it's 1-1 and maddeningly so. And of course, Griezmann has to wheel off and do the Fortnite loser dance, which apparently my son told me was pretty funny.
I did recognize it.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, "That's a silly little dance to be doing," and Jake's like, "Oh yeah, that's from Fortnite." And I'm like, so glad that's what you're spending 4 hours of your day doing. So, Danny, was this goal A, bad luck, B, bad defending? I mean, 3 people and a goalkeeper should be able to stop one, or C, bad tactics, given the situation in the game where we're protecting a lead after 81 minutes.
Can I have D, all of the above?
You certainly can.
I'll have A, B, C, and D, the entire lot. Like you were saying, we didn't need. I can see why the logic is of maybe pushing for the second goal. They're down to 10 men. The manager is up in the stands, and to go there with a 2-goal lead with a team, because we know it's almost impossible to score a goal at Madrid. They've not conceded a goal since January. I think it's 11 straight games where they've not conceded a goal. They are magnificent at home. But they are vulnerable, because recently they did play a team. They went 1-0 up. They shut up shop, completely changed their tactics, and the other team came back. And I think the other team even probably got a draw with them. This was around Christmas time. I remember hearing about that. I didn't see it. So that situation, you would think, well, hold on. If you're going to be playing 3 centre-backs, then, I mean, those 3 players, then why have them so far apart on the halfway line? It was literally touchline Mustafi, touchline Monreal, and dead centre Koscielny. Well, you're not going to get it, are you? Because if you want to have someone in the middle, because the players are going to try and break down the middle, they're not going to go down the wing because Monreal's there. They're not going to go down the other side because Bellerin. I don't know how far Bellerin was away, but Bellerin could have caught any of those.
He was well into our offensive. I mean, he was almost in the final third at the time that ball was played.
But you also got to look at, why did Monreal suddenly go from facing one direction to facing the other direction to playing him onside? Now, if there's only 3 of you, I know there's half a mile between them across the entire length of the pitch, or it seemed like. Why weren't they watching each other? That should be the thing. Like, I remember, I think it might have been Sol Campbell was talking recently, and he was saying that when George Graham used to do defensive training, it would be, imagine there is a piece of rope around your waist connecting all 3 of you, or 4 of you, or 2 of you, depending on how many there were. So why wasn't Monreal doing his job? Because Monreal is a lot recently been encouraged to go forward, much like where you were saying Bellerin was too far forward. He wasn't even in the defensive line, and there's no need to push up for such a high line. Why weren't they halfway into our own area? It would have made no difference. It would have given everybody a lot more time, and it would have given Griezmann a lot less time and ability to do stuff. But they were so spread out. You just think, well, this is what happens. It's just that sums up our season, and like the upcoming game against Man United sums up our season of calamity defending. We just do it all the time, and we never learn. And as sad as I am to see Wenger go. If he doesn't win stuff, I want him to go. But you cannot, in modern day football, with strikers who are the speed of light, with amazing skills, you cannot leave them that much opportunity, because Griezmann must have looked at that and thought, he's facing the wrong way, he's a pensioner with one leg, and he's on the other side of the pitch. I'm off. I'll get the ball and I'm off. And that's just what they were waiting for. People like Griezmann, like you were saying, we had 28 shots at goal. Lacazette had 8 shots, not all at goal. And I think they had, did you say 6? I think 4 of those went down.
5 of them were on target.
Yeah, 5 of them were on target. So I mean, you could criticise our strikers and our forward line for not getting more shots on target. But there again, Oblak was absolutely magnificent. That is one of the best goalkeeping displays I've seen this season, and in many seasons. That bloke is absolutely amazing and worth every penny of the 87 million we will be paying for him.
We will not be paying for him. But yeah, I mean, and just a few minutes after the Griezmann goal, before the game is officially over, he makes the type of save from a header from Aaron Ramsey that, I don't know, like a good 6'2" or taller goalkeeper can make. Andy, we have a goalkeeper who isn't 6'2" and can't make that kind of save, don't we?
Yeah, height is.
And we're not going to call him David Ospina, because he's David.
It annoys me when you hear people say short keepers can't be world class, because you look at Fabian Barthez and how well he was.
Shay Given,
yeah. And so smaller keepers can do it.
Really well.
I'm sure we'll get to the United goal because he had maybe a second or two. It's his It's not his height; it's his reflex. I mean,
and whether he was hurt from 20 minutes earlier, but
at the end of the day,
I don't know. I think his height makes a difference.
In my opinion, up there with Manuel Neuer. I mean, if you get him as a keeper, it's a game changer.
How old is he?
Game changer. I think he's only 25.
All right, so he's
black.
Yeah. So you put him into the De Gea and Neuer category at this point?
Oh, easily.
Better than De Gea.
Yeah, wow. Better. I would say that outside of Neuer, he's probably best keeper in the world.
Neuer, Oblak, Szczesny. That's the top three? That's what we're going with at this point?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so it's 1-1, final game, final score, and it's just that goal makes such a difference. Now we've got to pretty much score. We do have to score, and and get a win. At the worst, a score draw would get us through. But it's a big difference. But for some reason, I don't know if it's the whole Arsene thing with my newfound patience and optimism about next season. And as much as that game should have ended up 2 or 3-0, if I've been offered 1-1, it's this old, trite saying of if you've been offered 1-1 at the beginning of the game with everything about how we felt about Madrid and the obstacle and all that, would you have taken it? I probably would have. I hate to say that, but I probably would have. I mean, I predicted 2-1 Madrid, so I would have taken 1-1. But I don't think this is over. I mean, we weren't supposed to be able to sniff the goal at all at the San Siro against Milan based on their form. I'm not comparing Milan and Madrid. I mean, Milan's more feeder leaguish than Madrid is at this point. But I don't know. I don't think it's over yet at this point. Danny, I mean, do you hold out any hope for this?
Yes.
Next Thursday?
Certainly do. They Oblak was rested at the weekend. Diego Costa played 60 minutes. I think they won 1-0 away. Gamero, I think it was, who scored the goal. Their team, they can concede goals. Like you were saying, it's a 2.5 team league, and they are the half. If they come up against Real Madrid score. I think it was 1-1 when Real Madrid played them. I hope Tom is watching this. He'll be ever so proud. I looked at whoscored.com. Actually, I didn't see any of the games. I don't watch it much, but we have a chance. And I think with the fact that Mkhitaryan coming back and scoring a goal and looking magnificent and getting a kick and still being all right, we have now got Lacazette up front with Ozil and Mkhitaryan behind them and Ramsey. Now that quartet have all got goals, have all got assists, and have all got amazing skills, and that will scare any team. I don't care if you've got Oblak in goal and you've got Godin at the back, who's probably going to eat one of your children before the game just to try and put you off and molest your donkey because he looks like a donkey molester. You can do whatever you want. That team is not a fantastic team. I think they're second in La Liga, but Barcelona have just won La Liga with a record early position. I think the last time someone won it that early, they were saying it on the game last night when I was watching, it was maybe 20 odd years ago. So they are running away with that league, but they're not a brilliant team. Griezmann isn't scoring the massive amount of goals like he used to, like he has in previous seasons. Torres is leaving at the end of the season. If he is any good, they keep him. But yeah, I'm fully confident that we can go there and get the goal, but I'm not fully confident that we won't concede a goal. And if it does end 1-1, I'm not confident that we beat them on penalties because Wenger will probably play Dave the Bin Man in goal again.
I mean, we got to go there and play some defense in this game. And it's going to be a tall task. But Andy, I mean, I've talked to a number of people, and even the studio people, the same dope that was talking about the yellow card said, this game's over. And these are people who work for Fox who are actually hoping people will tune in next Thursday that are saying the tie's over. But, I mean, I don't see you as being in that camp.
No, because the away goal for Atletico, they're going to go defensive-minded. And as Danny said, we're going to be unleashing Mkhitaryan. We're going to have the strongest lineup if we have no injuries. And they're going to sit back and try and defend. And so I think that for the first 30 minutes, it's going to be us knocking on the door. Best case scenario is we had an early goal, but I think they're going to go out and they're going to defend, and we're going to be able to capitalize on that. the problem comes again is in our back. If we do score early, then it's going to be game on, and they're going to be all over us. And my concern is that we're not going to be able to stop them from scoring, because that's just been a problem for us. But no, it's definitely not over. I think the boys are still up for it a little bit more to send Arsenal off. And I think the winner comes out of this semifinal, and we all know that. So at the end of the day, we're going to be all over them. And I think that away goal, while it sucks, is probably the best case scenario, Mike, because they will defend. They will sit back and defend, and we just need to hammer them as much as we can.
It just occurred to me, we're going to be wearing blue, aren't we?
No, that's fucked it.
All right, well, I take back everything I just said about the optimism. So, speaking of wearing blue, Sunday was a blue day for us. And in an interesting bit of irony, last season, Manchester United, sitting in 6th place, made a visit to the Emirates to play Arsenal on the Sunday in between their 2 Europa League semifinal legs against the massive Celta Vigo? Celta Vigo? What is it? Celta Vigo. Yeah, we'll have to ask Tom. Tom. Okay, it's Celta Vigo. Andy, what league do they play in?
Peter League.
Yeah. Okay. So, and they had to go up against some cunt with 2 shit dogs last year. And so this year, the roles are reversed almost exactly, right down to the shit dogs and Humber. Only Humber. I still don't care about Adam. So it came as no surprise to see 8 changes from Thursday's lineup. Xhaka, Bellerin, and David Ospina were the only holdovers, and a very welcome return for one Henrik Mkhitaryan against his old club. So, but I think the main news when the team sheet came out and everyone was talking about where I was a first team debut for my friend Jimmy the Greek, who goes by Dinos, and that's much easier than his real name. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. So. Mavropanos, is it Mavropanos? Dinos?
Yep, sounds about right.
By the way,
no.
From when I went to Athens, if you're in Athens and some guy that you don't know comes up to you and in the middle of the street and calls you my friend, spoiler alert, he's not your friend. Okay, he's not your friend. That's just a little travel tip from your old buddy Feinbergopoulos. Okay. Average age of this starting 11 was the youngest that we had put out there on the pitch since that lovely day I ate to talk about. But it was like 24 and a half or something like that. But my mentality, because everyone needs to know how me and Virginia was looking towards this game, just a little relaxed, unconcerned. I wouldn't say apathetic about it, although there is a little bit of that setting in the Premier League. But I mean, there's really nothing to lose in this game. I was looking forward to seeing the lineup that came out. I prefer that we have something to play for in the league at this point in the year. But if this is what it must feel like, Andy, to be an Everton supporter. We know we're not going down. We know we're not getting any prize of any kind. And frankly, on the day, I kind of appreciated that feeling. I wouldn't want it every year, but it wasn't the end of the world. So, Danny, other than asleep, how did you go into the game feeling?
I actually got out of bed to watch it. I needed a wee, and I thought, well, I might as well get up. So I stayed out and watched it. I normally, if it's an important game, I'll sit over there in front of my 55-inch of Sony wonderfulness, pump up the volume and sit there. This time I sat at the computer and was tweeting and doing stuff. I did not give a damn. All I wanted from that game was 2 things: not to get hammered, and for players to make first youth players to get some minutes, which is really important for now and for the rest of the season. And that's what we got. And we saw Mavropanos was absolutely immense. I don't know if you two saw Match of the Day. Do you get Match of the Day over there?
It's not the match of the day.
Yeah, it's different. But typically try and watch it on a feed or something, a couple hours later.
Well, I've got a YouTube channel that I'm subscribed to where they take all the best of BT Sport and Match of the Day, and Ian Wright is on. And I'll give you the link after this.
Yeah. And
Ian Wright is on there, and he was seriously suggesting that Mavropanos play on Thursday. He was that good. Some of the interceptions that he made, the way that he got up quickly, the way at one point I noticed during the game, he had a player behind him. He had Callum Chambers to his left, and he's keeping the play off, and he's shouting to Chambers, leave it. and Dave the bin man scooped it up. And you think, this bloke is magnificent. He has already jumped ahead of seemingly maybe Big Bob Holding, none shall pass, and Bielik, who's out on loan, and your boy Vlad the Impaler, or whatever his name is.
Well, he's a midfielder.
Is he?
Impaler,
He's a centre back.
But I did forget about Bielik though.
He's on loan at Chelsea.
I mean, it's hard not to get wrapped up in Greek fever here. With him, but we've been here before though so many times. I mean, Holding was in this position at the beginning of last season.
Yeah, but you look at that, that's three young quality centre backs we've got. Just think how much that could save. I mean, I'm a big fan of Holding and Chambers, and if this Mavropanos, it's amazing having a player with lots of vowels that are not normal for me, and I can say it. Mavropanos is wonderful. But if he was something else, I wouldn't be able to get it right. But it's fantastic, and I love it. And he was so confident. And the way that he and plus he injured Lukaku, is a flat track bully, as Chris always likes to say. Got Lukaku taken off. It's just really, really good. And you got so many young players with so much confidence like him. And Maitland-Niles was another brilliant one. I think Willock is taking time to settle in. That's Willock, the younger, is it? I think there's 3 Willocks, isn't there? Yeah, we've only got one left. So
we're running out of Willocks.
That's it. We're down to our final Willock. Willock the younger. The elder's gone to Portugal, and the other one's at Man United. I'm just really happy with it, but I don't really care about the result. I didn't think we were going to win. At one point, when it was 1-1, we did run through on goal, and I thought, we were a gnat's testicle away from making it 2-1 here. But then Wenger would have just brought Koscielny on and pushed everyone up, and it would have ended 3-2 anyway, so it doesn't really make any difference. But yeah, I'm happy with them. Don't care about the result. The league's over. Like you say, it's like being an Everton fan just with less Theo Walcott skying it every chance he gets a chance. Oh, I miss Theo.
We don't. So Andy, the pregame ceremonies, I thought it was classy. It wasn't overdone. The Fergie and Arsene moment. Look, I mean, that was nice. It's clear those guys have a healthy respect for each other, and that'll go on well past their football managing careers. Mourinho just trying to act respectful, and all of a sudden, like he isn't the biggest cunt in the world. And the Alexis Sanchez hug before the game. Now that, you fake ass, humber ass loser. I mean, don't try to act like you even have the slightest amount of respect for the guy. Would you have paid money to see Wenger like do the whole move your hand out of the way thing when he comes at you like that dude did to Mertesacker?
I would have paid him to do the Mourinho push on him. That would have been great. No, the opening ceremony was great. I mean, if you look back at Arsene's career, even at Sir Alex Ferguson, I think if you ask the two of them who pushed them the most as a manager, they'd probably answer each other, right? I mean, the battles the two of them had that we got to watch late 90s, early 2000s was some of the best football the world's ever seen. And so I think it was really befitting of a club of their stature to do that. And
I mean, it's Fergie, Wenger, and Big Sam. I mean, they're the big 3.
Well, we always lost to Big Sam when he was back in Bolton, but yeah, I thought it was a great send off and classy of the United fans to give him that applause. But again, I think they know that with the history of both clubs, like now the era is done. I mean, we can finally close that chapter, and hopefully when Allegri comes in, he can beat the pants off of Mourinho on a weekly basis.
That would be nice. And and then the tribute gets to an even nicer level, because about 16 minutes after the game started, you had 70,000 Manchester United supporters singing "Arsene Wenger, we want you to stay." I mean, was that not the sweetest thing they could have possibly done, Andy? I mean, wait, hold on. I'm being told that's actually mocking Arsene Wenger.
Yeah, a little bit mocking.
Because little bit knocking. Because of course they took an early lead through some pinball bullshit. Fair play though to Bellerin for laying himself out to deflect Alexis's header onto the post. Because seeing Alexis not score in that situation was almost enough to offset the fact that Pogba did score. I'm in the pub rationalizing that out loud, and no one punched me. I mean, that's how non-ridiculous that was. But Danny, your thoughts on the goal, and at that point in the game, did you think that was the beginning of the opening of the floodgates? The floodgate, meaning that you overfilled the tub that you're in and it flooded all over your floor.
I've still got a special place for you in my tub when you want to come round. We should, if we Vaseline up, we should both fit in quite nicely.
I was this close to visiting Danny on my last trip.
Seb's going to be on top of that picture.
You don't have to do that much to change the one we have already.
After seeing the way Mavropanos is playing, and I think we're playing a little bit more defensively, and Man United aren't really a good team. They're a very boring team. I don't think the players like Mourinho.
How are they second?
He's definitely, fuck knows, because everyone else is so terrible. He's definitely not getting the best out of players. I mean, that goal by Pogba now means he's got the same number of goals as Monreal this season. I think they're both on the level goals. That says it all. You've got one of the most creative, gifted, brilliant midfielders in the world, and our left back, who isn't even playing all season, has got as many goals as he has. That sums it up. But yeah, it's just typical Arsenal is pinball, isn't it? We so many times this season, and we saw it later on in the game. We cannot deal with a spilled ball, the second ball. So there's always someone in there going, "Oh no, they're going to punch it away or tackle it away," and then we can have another go. Don't worry, everybody. Don't worry. Arsenal will mess it up, and we can have another dig at the ball because he's not going to pick it up. Dave, the bin man. And,
I don't remember us ever scoring a goal like that, but we've allowed. I think 80% of the goals we've allowed are like that.
Yeah, but yet from set pieces, we've scored 16 goals this season, more than anyone else. It's just crazy. How can we have such a bad away record? 0 points in 2018. This is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
We're keeping you up. Sorry, boring you.
No, I think Arsenal is boring him, actually.
Yeah. We could talk about the Avalanche, apparently. I don't know what that is, but you keep talking about it.
Yeah, they're gone too.
Yeah.
So 5 minutes into the second half, kind of out of nowhere, but it really made my day to see Mkhitaryan get a goal against his old club, and specifically against Jose, in a position he probably never would have found himself in Jose's lineup. So you give Mkhitaryan the ball in that position on the pitch and give him that much space. I mean, it looked like all of a sudden United was being coached by Gattuso, and he'll make you pay. Now, Andy, Granit Xhaka, not a great first half, to be fair.
No.
But in this situation, he's a bit further up the pitch with protection behind him, Tom.
Which is where he should be.
Right. And he pretty much single-handedly creates this opportunity with his hustle and his pressing, and then lets Mkhitaryan close the deal. Is there anything else you want to say right now about Captain Granit to the Xhaka haters, Andy? The floor is yours.
No, I mean...
No, and then he's going to go talk for 5 minutes.
No, look, I don't want to beat a dead horse about Xhaka, but we know that when he plays for Switzerland, when he played for BMG, he was better when he was up the field. And he makes mistakes defensively when he's the sole central midfielder who has to defend. It's not his position. Now, if he has a manager who can kind of teach him that, then it might be a huge change. But you expect him to make those type of plays when he's higher up the pitch. You would expect him to be on a little bit more deliverable balls. And you give Mkhitaryan the ball around the 18. The one thing I love about him is he tries to put it on net. You know, you see it all the time when he's in and around the box. He's not a tiki-taka kind of player in there. If he gets it, he wants to hammer it home, and I respect that. And
he's not looking pass first like Iwobi has lately.
No, he's not. If he gets into it, and I think that's the general rule, right? If you're inside of the 18, why pass? Just shoot. It's the same thing. Unless your player's wide open, just put it on goal. So, yeah, it was nice to see him score. I wish they would celebrate. I hate this whole, I played for the club, I'm not going to celebrate. I remember when Welbeck scored, he was like a boy in the FA. Was it quarterfinal or semifinal when Danny scored? We won 2-1.
I think it was the quarterfinal.
We're in those blue and green. I mean, he celebrated. Well, and he grew up in Manchester as a United supporter. It's like,
I didn't think Mkhitaryan really made a big deal out of not celebrating. I mean, he put his arms up in the air and he let everybody else celebrate around him. He didn't do that thing where he's pushing players away.
I want to see an Arnautovic celebration like he did against Stoke when he scored and he threw up the X's and he just let all the Stoke fans know, like, I'm a hammer now.
You wanted him to pull an Adebayor, basically, is what you're saying.
Basically, I wanted him to run the length of the field, whip his dick out, and just let everyone see.
That's something for the ladies listening.
I thought that was Lukaku's job, but
this racist.
or Ola's. So Xhaka D'Or is basically what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, that's how we summarize the last 5 minutes. So it's 1-1, a deserved 1-1, but a surprising 1-1. And I mean, I think the kids really grew into the game quite nicely. We've talked about them a little bit. We'll talk about them again. Yeah, we absolutely threw the result away in added time. I mean, just devastating. And it didn't even occur to me that, win, or I didn't feel that devastated to lose, but that would have been the first point on the road that we would have gotten in 2018. And yet we found a way to lose even that. So, and to literally my least favorite Belgian in the world. Danny, I mean, on a scale of Jonas 82 to Eden Hazard, where does Fellaini fall in the Belgian rankings for you?
Right up there with who was the one, Mark Bosman, who ruined football. I think he was Belgian, wasn't he? The Bosman rule bloke.
Was he?
Yeah, I think he was French-Belgian. Yeah, right up there with him. I used to like Fellaini when he was at Everton because he was a quite a hard man in midfield. But then Jose starts bringing him on and going, right, telegraph the ball to him, and that's that's a sign of desperate football when you resort to stuff like that. But Jose doesn't give a damn about tactic. I mean, about the way the game is played, which is why so many Man United fans are angry with him or want him gone. All he cares about is results. And second in the league, FA Cup final. I'm not sure. I think I'd rather Chelsea win the FA Cup final one because I'd love to see Giroud be one of a very, very small class of players that have won back-to-back FA Cups for different teams. I know Brian Talbot did it in 78 for Ipswich and 79 for Arsenal.
I have no question. I'd much rather Chelsea win than Manchester United. It makes me sick to say that, but I can't see Alexis lifting anything this year.
Yeah, but I hate Fellaini. I wish he'd piss off. But like, it was with the rebound ball, and that exact same or virtual same scenario happened with the goal that was disallowed, and then they come back and they do almost the same thing again. You think, do you people not learn? Mavropanos must be looking at that going, well, come on, this is my first game and I knew that was going to happen. What are you fucking idiots doing? How can they do the same move with the same bloke? If you even watch football, you know that's what Jose is going to do. If he needs a goal, he'll bring on Fellaini with his sideshow bob haircut. He'll act like a tool and he'll be up in the air and trying to head it in. And that's what he's done. He knew he was going to do it.
It's like when we're playing West Ham, they bring in Andy Carroll. I mean, it's the same thing. It's written up there on the wall.
Stoke.
Yeah.
Peter Crouch's only ever hat-trick was against us.
Was it really?
Yeah. Sad times.
Andy, I mean, they say, at least the women in my life have said that length isn't that important. But I've never heard anyone say that about goalkeepers. We talked about his shortcomings in that department before. I feel bad that Vern Troyer died last weekend because I think if he had been in goal for us, he might have been able to make that save better than Ospina.
As I said earlier in the pod, height has nothing to do with it. Ospina is. Does
love have something to do with it?
I remember in the Copa I think it was last summer. He picked a ball out of the top, like the upper 90. And a keeper of his size should not have gotten to that, and he did.
Upper 90 is a big U.S. thing, isn't it?
I've got no idea what that means.
Yeah. See, someone was telling. Oh no, it was you that told us that Andy should. I forgot your name. Andy should get a version of the bell for Americans.
I was going to use the fart app.
Yeah, you're going to use the fart app and upper 90 is the perfect version of that. I would have never said upper 90 on this podcast out of fear.
Is that an NFL thing?
No.
I'm putting one in.
Oh no, we're definitely winning the blogging awards now.
Upper 90,
upper 90,
top corner of the goal. Just one of the top.
It's football reference, but
it's a football reference, but a uniquely American one, I think.
Like PK.
Yeah, but so height for me isn't the issue. It's his reflexes. Unfortunately for a goalie, when you see a ball pop in the air and you've got three of your players going up for a 50-50 challenge, you assume one of those three is going to beat the fucking mushroom head United player. So
the Mario knockoff.
Yeah. So at the end of the day,
that's what my son learns. At the end of the day, my son learned in youth football is if there's three of you, you should beat the fucking mushroom head guy.
There is a tactic for this. You know, like in all the best war films, when someone chucks a grenade, the hero will run over to the grenade and dive on it to save everyone else. When a cross and a shot comes in like that, someone should dive on the floor so then the team can stand on them and get those extra few inches.
Oh, we finally got Andy laughing.
Oh,
He's been sleeping through this entire podcast.
Sorry, Danny.
Finally up for it now.
Let me do one more.
Let me do one more. Wait, I got to say something American.
Do you want? Well, hold on before I do that. Do you want? Do you want the fart called "I'm Farticus," Burrito Maximo, or Ram Bowels?
Oh, it's got to be Burrito Maximo in my, and it'll be in response to us saying that we almost left everything out on the field today.
That one wasn't that good.
We lost it in overtime.
We hope the boys on Thursday step up to the plate.
Step up to the plate. Okay, all right. We got the This may be the last time we hear the bell on this podcast.
There's one called Butt Socket.
What was the thing that you did last time when you absolutely lost your? I forget who was on the podcast, but you were going.
Yeah, I was reading the Urban Dictionary.
Oh, that's right.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we'll have to go back and live that over again. All right, so
I'm done.
All right, so we've talked about Fellaini's shot, and you've talked about how height doesn't matter, but I think in his case a few extra inches, and he would have gotten his fingers on that.
A few extra inches does matter.
Although a lot of people do.
Am I right, ladies?
All right.
But his reflexes on that were just shit. But again, you have 3 players going up for it. It's coming over the 4 players' heads. I mean, it's unlucky. It's unfortunate.
Quite a bit. And
you could put Mertesacker on just to, like in ballet. I can't even speak in ballet where one of the people lifts up the other one. Can you lift your goalkeeper up if he's a little wee goalkeeper? Is that allowed?
Only if he's wearing one of those fucking skirt things that poof out to the side like they do in ballet. Then you can do it.
Tutus.
Then you can do it. So I'm finding it hard to work up a ton of hate and anger right now. I'm looking forward to next season already. Really, the only thing left in this one is just an intrigue about the last 3 games, and then, of course, whatever we can try to get done in the Europa. But the reality of the situation, if I'm looking for something to be upset about, Bournemouth, Swansea, Spurs, Brighton, Newcastle, and United, 0 out of 18 points away from home since the new year. I mean, it's consistently crap. And I mean, we've only had 6 away Premier League games in 4 months, which is a little weird, but it's not as crazy as losing them all. Had we taken 9 out of those 18 points, frankly, we're still probably not making top 4. So is it the end of the world? I mean, we hurt ourselves in other ways this season, but just shows you some of the work that needs to be done by our next gaffer.
Well, if it did anything, it helped solidify the fact that Arsene isn't the right man for the job.
Yeah, and Danny, by the way, is there a British football term that sounds more natural coming from a Yank than gaffer?
No, or governor.
Gov.
That's why when I say to people, I call them Gov because, I think some Americans think I might be being a little bit weird. I always reply to people on Twitter and say Gov. Unless I know them, then I might say mate or chum.
Yeah, we end up using
Danny,
mate a lot.
I'm not sure this question has been asked you on all the platforms, but if you have a manager in mind, who is it?
I would like to see someone who's going to come and play interesting football. So Simone is out of the window. So you've got to look at 2 types of managers. Whoever's going to come in, the first game that we draw, everyone's going to be, that's it, we want him out, we want a new manager, and then we'll turn into Chelsea. So you can either go young and give him a 5-year plan, or you can go short term, who is just going to chuck a load of money at it. So I would like to see someone like Nagelsmann. Hear Drew often talking about how good Nagelsmann is. I was watching a YouTube video about how he plays football, his style. Plus, you've got to pick a manager whose style and formations are similar to what we have available. Because if they're not going to get much money, then you need to be able to work with what we've got. And his formation is quite similar. And he's used to players that have played in the Bundesliga, because a few of ours have, and that's where he manages at the moment. He's turned Serge Gnabry into an amazing player this season. He's on loan there from Bayern Munich. Then you've got someone like Allegri, which everybody says Allegri, don't they? Of course, you're going to want Allegri. The man's doing wonderful wonders at Juventus, but then I've heard a couple of people say that he has signed a new contract, and that's not going to happen. So, but
he signed it last year, though. It's just basically reiterating that he's signed a new contract. But then I've also heard he's taking English lessons and looking for real estate in London. So, I mean, obviously he's going to Chelsea, but
we're all looking for real estate in London. That's just what I do on a daily basis. I'll be quite happy with Allegri, but as long as the person who comes in gets time, that's the most important thing, that he gets time from the fans, because whoever it is not going to come in and do a Conte and win the league in the first season, or like Jose when he came back to Chelsea and won the league. That is not going to happen with us. Not when we're going to go and go, oh, we'll buy this player for 200 million. Man City will go, we'll buy one for 400 million. You can never compete with that. So there's no point in trying to compete with that. I mean, look at us this season. We've scored 67 goals in the league. Man City have scored 102. They've got a goal difference of plus 76. There's only one team in the entire league that have scored more than 76 goals, and that's Liverpool with 80, and Man City's goal difference is 76. You cannot compete with that. So people need to realise that and understand that it's going to have to be a long-term plan of nurturing. We've got so many wonderful players coming through the youth system at the moment, and we've seen a few of them in the last few games. We've seen a few of them all season. And he's going to have to work with those and work with what we got. So I don't really mind who comes in as long as they're given time by the fans, because realistically, we are not going to win the Premier League until Man City are done for financial irregularities. But again, Tottenham are knackered because they're with all their loans for the stadium. Their stadium is going to cost nigh on £1 billion now. So at least next season and the season after that, we'll be laughing at them doing the West Ham and struggling to stay up.
Well, the thing with them is going to be how they spend the money that they get when they're big players decide to leave.
They've got to pay off the stadium, because the stadium was only meant to cost 350 million, and now it's up to 850 million. And they've had to get. I mean, Steve has talked about it a few times, but at Lord Hillwood, if you want to ask him, he knows all about it because he's a financial wizard. But when it comes to that, or Swiss Ramble, another genius, that when it comes to the finances, they are knackered because that stadium is costing more and more, and they're going to have to sell their players. And when you look at it, how many players have they got that are really worth a lot of money? Dele Alli has been found out to be not the great player that he thinks he was. Harry Kane is a wonderful player for them, but will it work anywhere else? And Eriksen, and that's about it. Vertonghen is a good player, but he's not going to be. You're not going to get 60, 70 million for him. Alderweireld is a really, really good centre back, but he's got a release clause, so they're going to sell him early until before the release clause is activated. After that, what are they going to do? I mean, they've already sold the trophy cabinet because they had no use for it.
Just collecting dust. I kind of like some out there picks for the next coach. I mean, what about that guy at Ostersunds, the English guy? Let's bring him back, see what he can do. Or the guy from Sutton, Paul Doswell. They're going to be in the Football League next year. They could get promoted. So we'll see.
The conference, as we used to call it. How are they doing in the conference?
They're third place, and there's apparently two teams that go up. The Macclesfield's going up, and then there's a playoff, and Sutton will take that, and they'll be back or not back, but they'll be in the league.
That would be nice. Yeah, weren't they in the league years ago though? I think they were.
I don't know. I don't think so. Anyway, user questions. We have a handful of them today, and we will start with a question from Schwinn, the world traveler. Schwinn. Question number 1. What is your most prized Arsenal possession?
You asking
Andy.
me? Oh, go on.
Andy.
It's a good question. I'd probably say the first kit that I ever got that I still own to this day, I think it's the 1989-90 season. Which someday it's red. It's a great JVC. Nick, except for it's JVC, but it was the Adidas. It was the first or second year Adidas became our sponsor after Umbro, and I'm excited because
one day Adidas because you're English.
Oh, damn it! Hold on, I got to do the fart app.
What about Adidas that?
And Puma.
I do say Puma, but no, that's a prized possession for me because someday I get to hand it down to my son. So I'm looking forward to that.
You mean my son?
He doesn't have a Jewish nose, so it can't be yours.
Danny, what's your most prized Arsenal possession?
If my house was on fire and I had to save something, it would be it's not an Arsenal, well, it's kind of Arsenal, it's my Panini football sticker book. So I've got everyone from 1978 up to about 2002, and I've got 2 of each year, and they're all full, and that collection is worth a fortune. Plus my Rothmans football yearbooks. I've got every single one, apart from number 1. I've got about 50 of them, and those things are really hard to get hold of. But actual Arsenal stuff, I suppose I'd get someone to go up into my loft. While my house is on fire and I'm outside with the sausages and the bacon cooking a barbecue. Say, oh, do you mind nipping up in the loft? I've got a box of about, the Corinthian football figures.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a box of about 400 of those in there, and I've got some of the Arsenal ones they brought out, like an Arsenal back 4, and they're all in a display box that I've never opened, and I've got some still in their blister packs. They may not be worth much, but that's some Arsenal stuff that I like. But I've got a load of Arsenal stuff that I chuck in that, when your family realise you're an Arsenal fan, I've bought you this for your birthday or Christmas, and it's just more Arsenal tat. I'd chuck that lot in and make sure that all burns. Because it's a lot of people. If you've got a family member that supports Arsenal, stop buying them Arsenal stuff unless they ask you for it.
How many cats would be on your lap as you're leaving the burning house?
No, they'll be long gone. They'll probably be their fault because I meant to have fed them quarter of an hour ago.
Well, mine is you're looking at it right behind me, probably team signed jersey from the 2016. Was it 2016 that we met, Andy?
Mm-hmm.
2016 tour of California, signed by the traveling squad, which was not a bad one, actually. Not the top players, but if not that, some of my programs that I've kept from the late 80s when I lived over there and went to Highbury, including one from the day of Hillsborough against Newcastle, which I love to pull out every once in a while, and then one recently that had a centerfold of Lee Dixon that I just got signed by him last month. So those would be my most prized possessions. This second question, Schwinn, how much does Gooners in the USA deserve to win the FBA Podcast of the Year award? Schwinn has learned the cardinal rule of podcasting that flatterly, the guy from the Irish dancing thing, Michael Flatley will get you everywhere. How much, Danny, do we deserve to win? I mean, we're not.
And before you answer that, let me just do an air biscuit.
I'm glad that coincided perfectly with me putting the website link for the best podcast ever, which is clearly this one is.
Yes, you definitely deserve it. If you don't win it, then I'd like the Clive and Tim Stillman and Giles.
Those guys are great.
Their podcast. They're all friends of mine.
I almost didn't mention them because if I do, people are going to be like, well, why the hell wouldn't I vote for them? they do an actual podcast.
They're very, very good. That's one of my other ones that I listen to quite regularly. Because you're representing Arsenal in the USA. And what finer reason to give someone a podcast other than that? But make sure you're all arranged for it, because we were scuttling around at the last minute because one of our lot was meant to go to the awards, and then I said no, he couldn't make it, and then we went, oh, what are we going to do? So Jeff Arsenal volunteered to pay for a hotel there, and the rest of us all scrabbled around, got a load of money together, and Jason, the legend Davis, got on the train, went up there, and went to the awards and drank. He got a massive bottle of Carlsberg. And you don't know where my other hand was. That could have been on the floor. That could have been an inch below. About that kind of width. Yeah.
Well, all I know is I'm on my way. So
it's a really, really good event, and they're really good people. And it's I don't think they make much money out of it. They just do it because it's a nice thing to do, because you've got the other podcasting awards, which the likes of like Totally Football and the Guardian Pod and all that lot are up for. And so this is for the more niche pods. So it'd be a niche pod in America winning a niche pod award. It'd be brilliant if you're listening. People.
We are niche AF. So.
All the niche.
Yeah. So speaking of first-time user questioners, even though we weren't, Mikko at PIKKMIKK, first-time user questioner from Helsinki, Finland. I love when we get new people chiming in instead of the same old fucks every week. No, I'm kidding.
Mike, I assume this is Mikko Rantanen, the Avs player, also from Finland, who is also a diehard Gooner.
It surely must be.
It's got to be him.
We'll do some research.
And I'm just Kuzilati.
And I'm kidding. We just we love the same old fucks that submit questions every week. So please keep sending them in. He says, AMN, Mainsley, as I like to call him, that's Tom and my phrase for him, looks the business, and Nelson, my friend, and Willock, etc., have real potential of becoming regular squad players next season. Of the potential managerial names being touted, who would you think would be the best option from our youth prospects' point of view? And Andy, I got a feeling I'm going to agree with you, so I'm just going to throw out there, you got to kind of think about Hardim there based on what he's done at Monaco. But is that short-sighted, or can you think of somebody?
No, because I think he gets a lot out of youth. I think Allegri has done the same, where he's taken some youth players and pushed them into that first team and helped them grow. But yeah, those two are the first two that come to mind. Probably Jardim a little bit more, because Monaco have to really go through that youth system and bring players through. But then you also have to look at, is that really him, or is that more the youth coaches they have on staff? And I'm assuming if he's got great relationships with them, he'd bring them with. So maybe he would be the answer.
And then that's bye-bye Mertesacker, isn't it?
Yeah, Danny?
Yeah, on the other end of that spectrum would be what, Ancelotti and Enrique?
Yeah, that would be
goodbye youth teams altogether if those happen.
Be like Jose has no interest in the youth team football at all. I think Nagelsmann does like young players. He's bringing a few through there.
Except when it comes to using a guy to make an example out of Pogba from the youth team, McTominay. Then all of a sudden he's all over the youth guys.
Youngster, I think he's Scottish, the bloke, Muck something. I don't think you can go too far wrong with Jardim. Plus we have massive long-term connections with Monaco, Wenger, Henry, Petit, Gramandi. I think Remy Gard might even have been playing there. Christopher Ray, all these players. We've had lots of connections with the club. So I think a lot of Arsenal fans do have maybe Monaco as their second team, or as their French team. And Chris knows what he's on about, and Chris says that would be the perfect signing. So perfect manager. But we just don't want him to do what he did at Monaco, where he let all the decent players go. But you'd think because Monaco got a tiny stadium and they don't have much money, but they are a tax exile, aren't they? Tax exile or tax exempt?
Tax haven.
Tax haven. There you go. So it'd be nice to see.
If we do that, then what do we become, Andy? If we keep selling all of our best players,
feeder team.
Feeder team.
Have to move to a feeder league.
Exactly.
Yeah, good. But it's just got to be whoever it is going to want to stay there, get plenty of time, and make the most of what we got. Not come in and go, right, I want 1 billion. And I'm going to just change everything, because we've got so much good about the club now. We've taken so many years with the people upstairs and the players coming through and the coaching system, and the under-23s having won that league. The under-18s are in their cup final, second leg, which is on tonight, which, I think it starts in about 6 minutes.
Yeah, I actually just got a tweet with the starting lineup for there, and there's like another 4 people with hyphenated last names in that starting 11.
Is John Jules there from the Ministry of Sound Party?
Yes. Daley Campbell, you got Smith Rowe. What is the deal with these guys?
It is a thing. Like, my daughter has a double-barreled surname. She's got my name and her mum's surname. But I don't know why people did that. Actually, the reason for that is because her mum said, "Oh, we're going to have your surname or both." I said, "Well, as I'm never marrying you, it's going to have to be both of our surnames." And I was right. We never did get married.
On a very important episode of Gooners in USA, we delve into Danny's love life.
Yeah.
All right. Next question from Ryan Lordos here in Virginia. If we get knocked out of the Europa League on Thursday, do we get the name of our new manager on Friday, or does it wait until the day after Huddersfield or even later? Andy. I guess I'd assume that is, that the underlying question there is, have we already selected the new manager, or are we still?
Question. It's a hard one, because if it's an Enrique or Ancelotti type character, are we not already in conversation with them? You hear about some of these journalists who are connected to football, and you keep hearing all these different names. I know Guillaume Balaguer, who's usually fucking wrong about everything, has just come out with
7-minute video that I couldn't make it through more than 3 minutes of.
Yeah, the guy's just like pulling names out of his ass for clicks. But
clicks and views.
If you're looking at an Allegri or Napoli manager, I don't think the announcement comes until they've wrapped up their season, because they're in the hunt for the Serie A. So I don't think we get it anytime soon. I really don't. I think we'll probably get it in May.
So do you think
that tomorrow?
If we that's true. Do you think that if we do lose on Thursday and we're going with somebody who isn't coaching like an Enrique or Ancelotti, they would still wait till the end of the season out of respect for Arsene Wenger?
No, I think they announce it before. If it gets wrapped up and it's done, I think they announce it. But I don't think that the people we're interviewing are ready to announce, because you got to remember, if they're with a club already, let's say Allegri, for example, Juve are not going to allow them to Juve aren't going to allow them to announce he's leaving until that season is finished. So I just think that at this point,
does that steer us towards the fact that if they don't announce and it just keeps going on and on until the end of the season, that it's not going to be Enrique, it's not going to be Ancelotti?
Enrique apparently is in conversation with the clubs. If you're listening to Balagay, I think Ancelotti is
in war chest that he wants.
Yeah, I've never heard of the Paulo Fonseca guy ever in my life. Now apparently he's in the mix. That would make sense to me. We hire a no-name person, but who the fuck knows?
Moley knows. That's who knows.
Yeah, Moley knows.
Jerby knows.
It was rumoured that Ancelotti had agreed to be the Italy manager, but I'm just reading here: the Sun, the Metro,
no, he turned that job down,
and Talksport and La Marca and Daily Mail and the Independent have all said that he's told the Italian FA he doesn't want the job. You know, Ancelotti's only 58. Now, if there's a bloke who looks 70 all day long, that's him.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be brilliant, because he would come in and he would give no fucks about people shouting and screaming. He would go, I'm coming in, I'm spending money, I'm doing it my way. I'll be here for 2 years, I'll win you the double, and then I'll fuck off again for a shitload of money somewhere else.
Yeah, but when the checks start bouncing, though, then that doesn't help us. When he starts spending money that he's not given, I don't like the idea of Ancelotti. I just don't. It doesn't feel right.
It does feel a bit dirty, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of no. I think we need to go youth. I mean, 30s, lower 40s, and shoot for shoot for somebody that might be around for another 10 or 15 years. You never know.
But are you ready to have a manager of our club who's younger than you and me? That doesn't feel right, does it? There's never been one before.
I'm old AF, so I would be fine with that.
That's why I really like Allegri, because he's 51, 52.
Yeah, 50, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so he has that age.
He was 27.
And we, as far as the club, I think we would be a step up for him, because it's a harder league. So for him, he's probably looking at it thinking, well, I think someone on our last pod said this Juventus team is only getting older, and it would be a great time for him to walk away.
Someone on our last pod, your brother-in-law was either you or me or him.
Well, he's dead to me now. He's back in England.
Oh, no, it's terrible.
He was very good on the pod that he was on. He's a very good talker, but yeah, he's
we might give him a future in podcasting. We can introduce him to other people.
Just looking at Juventus at the moment, players that are out of contract this summer: Chiellini, Barzagli, Haldez, Lichtensteiner, the backup goalkeeper, Buffon, Asamoah. And is there any others? Douglas Costa. All of that, according to Wikipedia, all those players are out of contract this summer. Now, what
this summer?
Yep.
Douglas Costa. No.
Yeah, Douglas Costa says his contract expires 2018.
So he could be on a pre-contract with somebody already. That doesn't seem to make much sense to me.
Well, regardless, I don't think we're going to find out the manager until
he's only on loan from Bayern Munich. That's why he's going.
Yeah, and I think Howard is on loan as well from another club in Germany.
They wouldn't let that go that long.
No.
All right. So next user question is from Sri the Gooner, and I have lost it, but I know that it had something to do with our youth academy.
It says, when our academy team's doing really well and producing some exciting prospects, how important is it to keep their development and integration into the first team in mind while choosing the next manager? Danny.
You're not going to read the rest of what I put there? I actually took that out of yours. Yeah, we wanted Danny to answer this because he spent a lot of time checking out young boys.
Oh. Yeah, very true. I'm banned from most schools in the area.
I should also do the fart app when Mike doesn't say funny jokes.
when I don't, or when it's going to be an entire podcast of farting now.
I'm only banned because I nicked the spoons from the egg and spoon races. I'm just looking at the lineup for the under 18s with 3-1 down. They can do this. John Jules up front. I'd like to see Eddie Nketiah up front. He'd have got about 5 or 6. But they've got this bloke up front, Redan. I think he's for the under 23s. He scored 5 goals in 8 games for the under 23s. He's now playing for the 18s. For God's sake, it's really important because it's a known fact we haven't got all the money. I'm just having a stretch of my elbow, my arm. We haven't got enough money to go out and buy these players. And you look at players like, well, I'm not going to list them because we all know who they are. Some of those players are going to be worth their weight in aluminium, not aluminum, not quite gold, because they're English. They've got Premier League experience. They've got European experience. They've got all the experience in the world coming up this season and possibly next season. And that sort of stuff, those are 20, 30 million pound players after a couple of years. So you don't have to look at them just as filling in spaces, but for what they could be. And already, Maitland-Niles, I mean, how much would he go if a team wanted him? 20, 30 million?
80.
So much potential. 80 million. Eddie Nketiah, he's still banging in the goals outside of the first team. And so many young players, these need to be nurtured through because in the long term, it's going to save us a lot of money. And then you don't have to bring in, like Chelsea did, where they bought in Giroud. Giroud isn't going to be a first-team player for them next season with their new manager. They've had to go and spend a lot of money on wages and transfer fees and moving stuff around just to get in players short-term. Now, if we can rely on our young players and keep them happy and make sure they don't do like Maguire has gone to Barcelona, Willock the Elder has gone to Portugal, I think it's Sporting Lisbon, and quite a few of our players over the years have buggered off because they weren't getting enough first-team experience, which is what they wanted. And so this crop are getting it. We need to keep them happy, keep looking after them because they could turn out to be absolute world stars for us. Hopefully.
Yeah, I like the guys that are coming up, and that's why I don't think Ancelotti gives them much of a guy like that is not going to give those guys the time of day.
Results for him.
Yeah. From the Texas Gooner who wants us to win the podcast awards so much that he had a fucking baby a month ago to help us get more votes. So congratulations on your son. I think he's naming him Nacho Mainsley. How do you rate our center back pecking order of youngsters, Chambers, Holding, and Mavropanos? Any chance we see any of the three make a major first-team breakthrough next season? Who of the three should be loaned next season, if any? Andy?
Well, I want to see more of Mavropanos. But honestly, I would loan all three. I don't think they are ready for our first team, and we need to bring in defenders who can actually make a difference. Personally, I want to see us bring in like a Kubali or that type of a central defender who's big, can own the box and be a leader out back. Mavropanos looked great yesterday, but it's one match. And as you said, Mike, we saw that in Rob Holding in that FA Cup final where he turned into an absolute beast. Let's loan these boys out with Iwobi to clubs where they're going to get 90 minutes every week, and then let's see what they got. I know Chambers went to Middlesbrough, but again, we don't have a manager who likes to be hands-on with defenders and give coaches the opportunity to be hands-on. So I don't want to rate these players yet, but I also don't want to sell them.
Do you say rate or rape?
Both.
He doesn't want to rape them.
A step too far.
Rate. Because
thank God for that. I was about to leave.
He said he doesn't want to rape them yet.
Yeah, yet.
Soon.
But they're still so young, early in their careers. You know me, I love an English player for Arsenal, and so I would say let's give them the opportunity to get embedded with this new system. And if that, after a month and a half is send them out on loan, send all three of them out. And let's bring in one or two players right now who can help the squad challenge for a title, because I don't think those three are capable right now.
And when they come back, they can give, Dybala and Messi and all those guys a run for their money in our lineup.
Absolutely.
Because, they'll all get the Nacho scoring capability. From Gav, last question from Gav at Shiwar, former guest of ours and frequent guest on yours, Danny.
He's on tomorrow.
Okay. Listening
Jason
tomorrow.
will be going at it, no doubt.
Would you rather a man bag or a fanny pack? Danny. I think this might have come out of some context of a conversation that we were all having when I started asking for user questions. But
do you know what we call a fanny pack in this country?
Vagina pack.
What did you say, Andy?
Bum bag.
Bum bag. We call them a bum bag.
Ah, look at that.
Yeah.
I almost forgot. Sorry.
I would have neither because I'm so fat. It would cost the amount of money it would cost in material. Plus, it would just get in my way whenever I move. So I have one built into the side of my chair, which I keep a little grabber in. I keep this thing in here, which I use for scratching my mustache.
Your mustache.
And being wise. My friend did this the other day, Ren. He was doing that. And I went, I was scratching my ass with that last night. And he put it down very quickly.
Yeah, that looks like a back scratcher to me.
It is a back scratcher. That's exactly what it is. It's quality.
Also a front scratcher, apparently.
It's a scratcher anywhere when you're like me. I need 3 or 4 of them just to get around my circumference. Yeah, I wouldn't have either of them. They're both terrible. Gav, probably knowing you, he's got a couple of bum bags. He's probably got She-War branded bum bags.
And while you're checking out the bum bags, check out thearsenalshirts.com. He's got quite the selection of old Arsenal tops from years past. So I brought up a picture that he had of all the different kits that he had yesterday because we were trying to remember what year a certain kit was being used. So
there's a website for that where they've got every single kit ever and mock-ups of them, drawings of them, home and away. It's magnificent. Haven't you seen it? I'll share it with you.
It's on our website. Yeah.
So that's about it for the week. Any final words from you gentlemen on what we have coming up this week? We've got obviously the biggest game of the season on Thursday. We've had a few biggest games of the season, but this is really it right here. And then the final home match against Burnley of Arsene Wenger's tenure. So by the next time we talk, we'll either be ecstatic about being in the final, or we'll be depressed, or we'll be ecstatic that it's finally over with Arsene, or we'll be depressed or whatever. But anything else you guys want to add to what's been
good pod,
rambly pod?
Good pod.
Carpenter out. And fuck
Last but not least, I will make one more mention. We do need your vote. Please, you can visit our Twitter profile. Visit our Twitter profile for links to vote for us. The voting goes on for another week. We would be pretty tickled to win this thing, but obviously we're not expecting to. We'd love your help and the help of every fucking person you've ever met, if that's not too much to ask. You can learn more about the blogging awards at footballbloggingawards.co.uk. Don't use a .com, all you Americans, because it won't work. I already tried it. I even looked into trying to buy the domain to see if I could get it to point to our voting page, which would have been a little skeezy, but someone already owns it, and they're not using it. So anyway, that's about it. Thanks for tuning in. Please give us a thumbs up if you liked the episode on YouTube, and if you got sick of looking at our faces and changed to iTunes, please give us a review. And that's it. Come on, you Gooners.